I could feel myself getting sucked in deeper and deeper.
You've heard Josh Fox's side of the story, but does everyone agree?
It's an industry full of opportunity.
Tonight, part 2 in our fracking special, we talk with the business owners.
It's really helped the area. It's a godsend.
Frack workers.
I would just like to continue growing with this industry.
And landowners.
I've been averaging anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 a month.
That's all ahead on this special edition of The Source. I'm here in western Pennsylvania, a place of rolling hills and beautiful meadows, picturesque little farms and pretty houses. But a mile or so beneath me is the Marcellus geological formation, a layer of shale rock, really compressed mud, that contains in its tiny pores little pockets of natural gas and other fossil fuels too. So much of it that over the past 5 years, because of the combined technologies of fracking, or hydraulic fracturing, and horizontal drilling, this place has become the most fracked place in the world. Every mile or two is another natural gas well. You can see a drilling rig a few miles behind me on the horizon. It's drilling a well. And on the top of the hill over there is a well that was drilled that's now being fracked. That's what all the trucks and the crane are doing up there. Yesterday we showed you that actual frack site behind me. There were 3 wells on that site, each getting fracked separately. First, what's called a perf gun was lowered into the well to create small punctures at the end. Next, water, sand, and fracking fluid were blasted into the well using the power of those massive engines of those fracking trucks. This opens up small cracks into the shale rock, which lets the gas out and up to the surface through the production line. And as the director of operations told us yesterday, water is a huge factor in the process.
Really, water makes up the majority of what we do, and chemicals are less than 1% of what we apply, and sand is also a small percent from a volumetric perspective. So water is clearly our big consumer here on location.
And where do you get the water from? Do you use groundwater? Is it fresh water? Do you recycle your water? Where does that come from?
We have multiple sources that we use. We have permitted sources from nearby lakes, rivers, streams, so we utilize as many as we can, but our big use is the recycled water. A couple of years ago, we moved toward a 100% recycling program. So we produce anywhere from 10 to 15,000 barrels a day of produced water in this field, and we reuse all of it in our fracturing operation.
The drilling and fracking process only takes a matter of weeks before the trucks and heavy equipment leave, and the site is ready to be reclaimed, only leaving the pipes for the gas coming out of the wells and small containers to capture any extra water. This area has always been rich in oil and gas, but now instead of small wellheads dotting the landscape everywhere, all the gas is pushed to the few production sites with a very small impact on the landscape.
We produce oil or natural gas from about 1 to 2 square miles, depending on a number of factors. And while you do see there's clearly a surface impact here, we can produce that 1 to 2 square miles with only having 1% impact on the surface. So this is dramatically reducing surface impact. So there's really no form of energy in the world that can produce as much energy with as little impact on the surface.
So how do they produce so much oil and gas while only having a 1% impact on the surface? Through a process called horizontal drilling, a real game changer in the Marcellus gas boom. Pipe is now able to not only go down into the ground, but also reach miles across sideways. While at the frac site, we learned that there's an incredible amount of technology used.
Just as much science that goes into the subsurface research, it's second only to NASA, and in many ways the space program borrows technologies from our industry. So as much technology that goes into understanding that subsurface also goes into making sure you have proper wellbore construction and integrity, and then that same kind of science and technology goes into the fracking operations as well.
And the technology is working. If it were its own country, the boom in natural gas production in the Marcellus geological region would make it the 7th largest gas producing jurisdiction in the world. And it's made the people around here prosper, a prosperity that hasn't been seen around here since the big steel mills all started to close shop 30 years ago. We met some of these people working in this industry a few weeks ago when we came to Pennsylvania for a pro-fracking rally in Harrisburg, the capital city of the state, We talked to businessmen and union leaders and teachers and individual landowners about why they love shale gas and the fracking technology that produces it. Like the leaseholders who are making thousands of dollars a month.
We're a Pennsylvania landowner. I have 22 acres in Susquehanna County, and it's all about the gas.
So, as a landowner, how did you get involved with fracking? How did that start?
Chesapeake leased me, and then they switched me over to Cabot, and that's how it all started.
I don't mean to pry, but I am curious. You got 22 acres. How much dough you make in a year in land leases?
I only have 9 acres in a unit right now. Maybe $5,000 a month.
It's not bad. Pays rent.
Sure does.
What do you do when you're not counting your money from fracking? Are you a farmer, or what do you do on the land anyway?
I have a real job.
Yeah, what's your real job?
I'm in manufacturing.
And the people who are sick of the anti-fracking rhetoric.
It's very clean. They do a wonderful job. They put it back to where they found it.
Did they pay you to say that?
No, they did not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Why are you here? Like, why? Yeah.
Because I want to support it. Because I think our country can be energy independent. Because I think it's good for us. It gives us jobs. It gives us money.
Or the young woman who's thankful for a job right out of university.
I've worked for natural gas since I graduated from Penn State, and so it's been a big blessing for me.
What was your degree from Penn State?
Chemical engineering.
Or a pastor who knows the answer for unemployment in his congregation lies in fracking.
We know that the black community is facing double-digit unemployment in many of its poorest pockets of urban areas, and so we can't just preach about problems, we have to become problem solvers.
Do you see fracking as a way for young black men and women to get a good job?
Absolutely, absolutely. There are many other opportunities by which young African Americans can find employment, but in a billion-dollar industry, we can't overlook this kind of industry. The train has left the station on fracking, and so there's no need in continuing to talk about what's wrong. We need to talk about what we can do to make things right.
I noticed that there's some critics of fracking, but they seem to be big city elites. I'm talking about Yoko Ono, Sean Lennon, Josh Fox, the filmmaker. What are they missing? If you had one message to say to them, what would you say?
I would say, don't become a part of the problem, be a part of the solution. Fracking is a part of the solution.
Or this businesswoman who isn't pushing for more sociology degrees, but instead for the real physical money-making labor from the shale gas industry.
A lot of it is getting people to see this industry as a viable place to work, that's someplace that is exciting, that's innovative, that there's great technology, and quite frankly, anybody who thinks about the energy industry would not describe it in those terms. And so that's the challenge. How do you get people to see it as the opportunity that it really is? I would say that fracking is the answer. I would say energy is one of the answers that can help change the unemployment rates. But there are lots of other things that are going on. Part of it is education. It's access to the right kind of education. It's curriculums that mirror what the industry's needs are. It's getting students to think about their success and is it tied to a college degree. I would say for many that is absolutely true. But for some, those students who are mechanically inclined, who like to work with their hands, may find being a welder really interesting, may find being a pipe fitter really interesting. Some will find being a chemist or a biologist or a geologist or an engineer. And we as an industry have not done a good job translating those skills to our industry.
These are hard-working Americans who are happy to have well-paying jobs.
I work on the fluid ends.
And how long have you been doing that?
I've been with the company 12 years.
Is it good work?
Oh yeah.
Good pay?
Oh, real good.
I don't want to get personal, but I'm not going to ask you what you earn, but let's say the guy working right next to you. What would he earn a year doing what you do?
Probably 60, 70,000.
What kind of jobs are there? If you're in that part of Pennsylvania, is fracking pretty much the job there is, or are there other industries?
Well, there's other industries. I mean, but you're not going to get the money that the fracking industry pays per hour.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind long hours,
I get the feeling you don't mind long hours one bit.
No.
It's incredible to see the positive impact the shale gas boom has had on so many people. After meeting the friendly pro-fracking folks, we were invited back to Pennsylvania into their homes and businesses to see firsthand how everyone here in Western Pennsylvania is benefiting from fracking. Remember Brian Dixon, the young man who showed us around the frack site? He was actually born and raised in western Pennsylvania, wanting to stay near home, but knowing there were few other job opportunities in the Rust Belt, he was excited to learn about the jobs in the booming fracking industry. So Brian, what do you do here on the frack job?
I am a division engineering manager for FTS, so I manage all the field engineers that work on these sites for all our division, the Northeast Division here.
You seem pretty young to be a manager.
Yeah, it's an industry full of opportunity, and so it's something that I always wanted to do, climb the ranks, and I had my sights set on this. And
how old are you?
I'm 29.
Oh my God! So you're a bit of a boss, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like a boss.
I think 31 people underneath me.
Good Lord! So how did you're an engineer? What kind of training would that take?
So I graduated from West Virginia University with a master's degree in mechanical engineering, and in 2008, Range Resources had drilled a well on my grandfather's on our family farm, and FTS was the hydraulic fracturing company that stimulated the well. And I knew that this was like an up-and-coming industry for our area, and I've lived here my whole life, and I didn't want to leave, so I thought this would be the best way to stay here, and it's something that interests me. So I applied at FTS. I wrote them some letters and sent them some applications, and eventually I got called down for an interview, and they hired me in May, and I've been here I'm in my 5th year here now at FTS.
So it started when they came to frack your grandpa's land.
Yeah, they were literally in the backyard, and I paid attention to the operations a lot. I would go down there. I would be one of the guys that would be like walking around the outside of the location trying to figure out what was going on, and got to talking to some of the guys on the location, and they directed me to the proper people, and I got in touch with them at FTS, and they ended up bringing me on board.
Now there's so much fracking around here. There's really no person that's not touched by it, if not directly by fracking on their property or having subsurface rights and getting a payment. You know, just the jobs in the community, the tax benefits. This is really a fracking county, a fracking state.
Oh yeah, for sure. And me specifically, I'm probably one of the more unique situations where I'm exposed to on both sides of the industry. I work in the industry, plus I'm on the landowner side of the industry, so I get to see it from both sides, and I can understand some of the the dynamic between the operating companies and the landowners. So it's pretty nice for me to help understand some of the concerns with landowners, some of the concerns with the operators.
You know, in Canada, most of our subsurface mineral rights are owned by the Queen. So, you know, individual landowners typically don't get the rents for the resources. I think by having to deal with every little homeowner, I would imagine it makes an oil and gas company much more attentive to keeping in the good graces of the folks who live here.
Very much so, because they have to work side by side with people like me, and just work that are from the landowner side and work in the industry, and just the general population. And we're fortunate enough to have a great relationship with the Range Resources, and they're kind of a customer that puts the landowners first, and they put the utmost importance on having a good public image, and they donate a lot of money to different charities and stuff, as does FTS. They buy a lot of animals at the fair, at our local fair. I used to show pigs whenever I was in 4-H. I was big into that, and Range Resources came in, and they would at the end of the week of the fair, they would buy a lot of the animals and it really helps out the kids, and they donate all these animals back to the 4-H scholarship fund, which is a huge deal. I mean, that really goes a long way.
So your family are farmers?
Yes. Yeah, I grew up as a farmer.
So, I mean, I've seen Gasland, the Attack movie by Josh Fox, and I've listened to the anti-fracking experts like Yoko Ono, who I think has a PhD in hydrogeology, I'm not sure.
Sounds right.
What would a farmer, what would someone who gets their water from drinking water from a well, what would they say? What was your grandpa say? His land was fracked.
So before there was even a pad constructed, they came out and tested all the well water within thousands of feet of the drilling op.
Sort of get a baseline of what it was like first?
Right, and then they came back and tested it after the drilling and after the fracking, and there was absolutely no change to anything.
Because the water,
no way.
Because you're fracking, what, 1.5 miles deep here. The water table's 100 feet deep, 200 feet deep?
At my house, at my parents' house, where they tested the water, our well is hit water 36 feet. 36 feet from the surface, and so the well driller drilled another 70 feet for a 100-foot deep well, but you're really only talking about the 30-foot is where the water aquifer was.
So the fracking is literally a 1-mile mountain of rock deeper from where the drinking water comes from.
Yeah, exactly. So now that I'm on this side of the industry and I understand how fracking works and how a fracture grows, it's impossible for a fracture to grow from 7,000 feet in the ground all the way up to a 30-foot water table.
But just the pressure of the weight of the earth would make that impossible.
Exactly. If a fracture was capable of growing up, it would reach at about 3,000 feet. The fracture starts to curve and start to grow horizontally like a pancake. So right now, the wells that we're fracturing here, the fractures are actually vertical slices in the ground. They're not. It's not it doesn't look like a pancake that's lifting up the earth. It's not happening. The rock is splitting this direction, not this direction. So as you come up and up and up in the earth, and when you get to 2,000–3,000 feet, then it turns and it starts splitting it this way. So it can't go any higher than that.
Now, I mean, Pennsylvania, there's been oil and gas here. I mean, Pennzoil, you can see the sort of the roots of that word. There've been oil and gas here for more than 100 years. I suppose folks here realize it's normal to poke a hole in the ground to get good things out of it.
Sure, and my family's farm is surrounded by lots of the old. We're in fact on top of the Taylorstown oil field, which was a major oil field in the early 1900s, and we're used to seeing pump jacks, and not the oil field then wasn't nearly as big of a scale as something like this, but still we're used to this. Where the little pump jacks and the little small fields, there was just wells everywhere. Where this is, you just have one centralized operation, and this will cover up to 2 square miles. It'll drain.
So back in the day, before fracking and before horizontal drilling, which is the real way of eliminating all the little pump jacks, you would, between here and I know about 2 miles that way, there's another rig, you would have had little pump jacks dotting the whole way, but now you have one here, 2 miles over, you got one there. Yeah. Is that the new way?
This big pad here, this covers, and this is just temporary. This will all be put back and it'll be a much smaller area. But this is covering up to, like I said, up to 2 square miles, where the little pump jacks, you might have 40 little pump jacks over 2 square miles. I mean, it's just way tighter spacing. Now with horizontal drilling and fracturing like this, we can cover a much bigger area with the same size footprint.
Well, you're 29. What are your big plans for, way in the future when maybe you're 35?
Well, I would just like to continue growing with this industry and continue working here in Washington County, where I don't want to leave. I'm kind of a homebody, so I'd like to stay here.
We were doing about just under $1 million. We're just hitting over $6 million now in a 5-year period.
Still ahead, the Pennsylvania shale boom is putting people to work, and not just on frac sites. We go to some of the local small businesses who are cashing in on the success of fracking. It's been decades since Western Pennsylvania has seen a growth industry. After the steel mills started to close in the 1980s, businesses were left scraping by. Young people moved out of town or out of state to find work. So when the shale industry came to town, it was more than just frac workers and leaseholders who benefited. It was small businesses too. Paul Batista is one example. His family business made the shift from supplying steel workers to supplying fracking workers, with everything they need for a frac site, from fire-retardant clothes, safety glasses, gloves, to safety pylons. Sunnyside Supply is a go-to for the oil and gas industry.
Sunnyside Supply is a family-owned company that's been around for 33 years. We were really hoping for the steel industry is our big customer base, but the steel industry was kind of leaving town back in late 70s, early 80s, and so we had to find a new direction of who do we sell to and who we market to. We stuck with the same line of products, just general maintenance products, maintenance, repair, and operating supplies. We started looking at research centers, institutions as hospitals and schools and that's where we made our living at, and as we move forward. And it was right around 2004 when we seen the first Marcellus well was drilled 3 miles from our home, and I heard about it, and I went up and I started watching and asking questions. About 2008 is when we really pivoted towards oil and gas and decided to call ourselves an oil and gas safety supply place, and changed our products up, changed our lines up, took on some new lines that would fit the guys in the industry. So as these people came in, my thought was they didn't know where to buy anything, so we made friends with them. We put postcards on their pickup trucks on their windshields and stuff like that, where to find parts that they could purchase from us and where we were located. So that's really how we got started in the Marcellus and in the oil and gas business, and where we're at today.
What do you make of the criticisms of fracking? I don't know if you've seen that movie by Josh Fox called Gasland. He paints a picture of devastation, of environmental devastation, of sad and disgruntled families and homeowners. You've been here for a while. You seem to know a lot of folks. Is that an accurate portrayal?
I don't believe his movie's an accurate portrayal. Are there people that are disgruntled? Yeah, there's going to be people in any industry. You can't drive on the highway without a disgruntled person. Okay, we cannot please everybody in the United States. But we can work towards a good common good. So let's look at it and see what is right and what is wrong. I honestly believe, and I said to the industry when they came in here in all of our public meetings, if you're accountable for your actions, if you're responsible for your actions, and if you can be a good neighbor, come on around. But if you can't be, and you're going to mess up the environment and mess up our neighborhood, we don't want you. So when you set standards out for those people and talk to them, they'll live up to them. This industry is based on innovation and technology. So when you challenge them to it, say, well, how come there's so much mud on the road? What can we do about the mud? Well, they think about it and say, well, let's put gravel down. Let's put pressure washers out. And that's how they started. They put pressure washers out on the trucks to clean the mud off first. Well, then they says, you know what, let's just invest money into the gravel. So we cleaned up that issue, but we had a conversation, and we didn't throw things at them, and we worked with them. So his portrayal to me is just, it's really inaccurate, and it's negative, and I think it's just like trying to sell news. Negative news sells more than positive news.
Now, you're from a farm background. You were telling me about growing up on the farm as a kid. How has fracking impacted people who still farm?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest impact financially and positively for the farmers. I still have family and farming and that, and what I've seen from the royalty checks and the mailbox money, as they call it, is they're able to buy newer equipment. I can show you farms that are immaculate. I drive through this area right now. I'm working with a lot of rigs in southern part of Pennsylvania into Ohio. I see farms and homesteads that are so beautiful because they've used their money from their oil and gas royalties to improve things. They love the land. They're not going to ruin the land, and they're going to work with the oil and gas company to say that, you know, this is a good thing. So I see improvements to homes. I see improvements to barns. I see improvements to equipment, driveways. It's just, to me, it's a revenue source that you can do things, positive things with.
It's really helped the area. It's a godsend.
Western Pennsylvania might not be Steel City anymore, but there still is plenty of use for steel in the fracking business. After the break, how one company is changing the meaning of Steel Nation. Western Pennsylvania has been economically iffy since the steel industry left town. So for those companies and people holding on to what opportunities were left, the 2008 recession hit hard. Dave Langley was trying to make a living selling modular homes. He told us it was clear he was in the wrong business at the wrong time, but he wasn't sure where to turn. That's when a friend brought him in to work at Steel Nation, an up-and-coming company that was set to thrive in the shale boom.
We do design buildings for the compression industry for Marcellus gas.
So how long's that industry even been around? I mean, Marcellus only took off, what, about 5 years ago?
Yeah, about 2006. Kind of started kicking around here in Western PA.
So how many guys work with you?
Now we have 8.
8?
Correct.
So you're building these little huts, these little buildings that dot the landscape. What kind of buildings would those be? What would they do for the gas companies?
Well, they provide the insulation, the sound barrier for the neighbors to keep their compression stations quiet. Also, we provide ventilation for their buildings in order to keep the compressors running. Compressors typically run very hot. They need to have air exchanges in order to keep the fresh air in the buildings. So we'll provide that so the compressors are able to continue to operate.
So what were you doing before the Marcellus boom came along? I mean, a lot of folks joined the industry 5-10 years ago. What were you doing before that?
I've been self-employed since '92. I was in the mortgage industry for a while, and then I transitioned over into the modular home building. And I actually used our office here as a sales center for my customers.
So this used to be a model home.
Correct.
Here, and you used to sell homes out of here, but then what happened when the big real estate crash came in 2007, 2008?
Yeah, but 2008, I saw business start to tick down a bit. Some of the government money wasn't there to fund some of the projects. I was doing some inner city projects with some of the counties around the area. And basically the writing started to get on the wall for me in about 2008, 2009. So at that point, I wasn't sure what I was going to be doing. Started trying to research a little bit about the Marcellus, knowing it would be a long-term opportunity here. And it just developed that way that I had a friend who was also snooping around the Marcellus industry, and he developed a reputation of providing the buildings, the steel buildings built around the compressor, and keeping the neighbors happy, keeping the compressors running, which provided that to his clients. And the business just grew from there. The reputation of his buildings and the satisfaction. And he was working out of his house. I was working out of this house. I have a sign out front where I put that I was selling my property, knowing that I couldn't continue. And he contacted me and said he was interested. Didn't have really the means to buy the property at that point. 6 months later, again, he contacted me and we came to an agreement, and I would help. I had the financing in place, so I kind of helped him there. He paid me some money to help me through some troubled times and keep me out of real trouble. And from there, I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought I'd build a house and live in my house in my community and work from there out of the modular industry. Mark said, I'm growing. Why don't you come work for me? And at that point, what do you do? He's like, come over to my house. I'll show you tomorrow afternoon. Sat down. Hey, I can do that. And I need you to teach me a few things. And we came to an agreement, did it on a commission basis, and it's worked out for us. I was the third employee here at Steel Nation. We now have 8, ready to hire our 9th. So it's encouraging seeing the industry grow, seeing the job opportunities, the trickle down situation to the community. I've always lived by the rationale that people live paycheck to paycheck, and basically if they've got the money coming in, then they're going to be spending it. And you can clearly see that. All the new trucks and restaurants are full, hotels are filled. It's really helped the area. It's a godsend.
If Marcellus Shale didn't, it sounds like the timing was perfect, just as the real estate market and the financial crisis was hitting. That's just when natural gas started to boom. If natural gas hadn't come along, what do you think folks around here would be doing? What do you think you would be doing?
I don't know what I'd be doing. I don't even want to go there. I was in a very tight situation when the whole thing came. As far as, Washington and some of these communities,
Washington County?
Washington County, yeah. Washington, PA. And some of the river towns, the Mon Valley they're known as, when the steel industry left here, it just took down a lot of the towns and economically just strapped a lot of the areas, small towns. But now you have people moving out. As soon as when they were out of high school, kids were gone, maybe to college, maybe to go work. A lot left the area, but now they're coming back. You can see it in the growth. You can see it in the construction of homes, developments. Some of the bigger homes, it's like, where do the people come that are buying those, but you also have the modest homes and the people that are out there working in the fields, getting the pipeline laid. They come and go a lot, but then you have the people that have to run these facilities, and they're here for the long term.
Now, what about environmentalists who say, I watched that movie by Josh Fox called Gasland, and if you believe that movie, Pennsylvania is a wasteland of poison water, dirty air, and angry people. Have you seen that movie?
I have seen that movie.
And what do you make of that?
It's totally inaccurate. You haven't seen anything as far as cons to the fracking. As far as you may have a spill here or there, but the cleanup's been there. The companies have paid the fine, And they're doing what they can to keep the environment clean, and you can see it in how they manage their facilities and their safety programs.
You mentioned steel. I mean, you use a lot of steel for sound control, these compressors. Is that some of that steel coming from Pennsylvania?
Sure. Yeah, we buy from a couple different factories located right here in Western PA. So our theory is if we can keep it local, we're keeping it local. We've been developing a lot into Ohio also. We're still using a Pennsylvania company for our steel, but we're working with vendors and just different subcontractors that we use are all pretty much local people.
Whether they only own an acre or if they own 100 acres, they're all getting something.
Still ahead, it's clear businesses are thriving, young people have work in their home state, but what about the people who own the land? The people the oil and gas companies lease the land from so they can frack the gas underneath it. Well, we were invited to one man's house to check out what fracking looks like for him. So we went down to beautiful western Pennsylvania to check out what shale gas development actually looks like. The drilling, the fracking, and then the reclamation. We saw how small businesses are thriving by just providing supplies or infrastructure to the oil and gas companies. But we haven't seen what these landowners look like. The ones Josh Fox shows in his movie Gasland and Gasland 2, who paint the oil and gas companies as evil, who claim fracking has ruined their properties and their drinking water. But is any of this true? Well, there were some residents who wanted to set the record straight and reached out to me on Twitter, inviting me over. I had just tweeted a picture of where we were stopping for a break, a fun ice cream store next to the highway called the Turtle Twist. Pretty much the kind of place I'd visit twice a day if it were in my hometown. Anyways, someone on Twitter saw me tweet that photo, and he said he lived just a few miles away and that he had a farm that was fracked. He wanted me to come and check it out. Well, naturally, I finished my ice cream first, but then we scooted right over to check it out. That's when we met about the best guy you'd ever want to meet, a real hail fellow well-met patriot named Donald Ressler. Ressler's farm was dried up from a recent drought when an oil and gas company approached him. He says it couldn't have come at a better time.
They drilled over here, if you look, right above that gray house over there. That's the well pad they drilled.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't get any damage here. Well, he didn't get any damage over there either.
Well,
I mean, other than the little bit area that the pad took up, the well pad.
So just to be clear, it's that area up there.
Yeah, you could see the little tanks and stuff sitting there.
So how long were they there when they were fracking there? How long were the trucks there?
Well, it was back in 2010. They were there for quite a few months.
Yeah. So they were drilling and then
they drilled seven holes there, or 9 holes. It was either 7 or 9. I'm not sure.
And so they went down horizontally under your property?
Right.
Now, how did they introduce themselves to you? Because you own your mineral rights.
Right.
So they came and they obviously negotiated a deal with you. How did that happen?
They just showed up at my door.
And
I mean, I was expecting them to come because I've had family that's got farms and friends and stuff in the area, and they were already here doing it, so I was expecting them to come.
How did they conduct themselves with you?
Oh, they were pleasant, real nice to deal with.
How many acres do you have altogether?
We have 43.
I don't want to get personal, and if it's confidential, I respect your confidentiality, but I am very curious how much royalties or lease payments you would get from that well over there.
Well, I'm only getting paid for 10 acres because my mother owns the rest. I've been averaging anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 a month.
And your mother's property, would it be proportionate? Like, would she be getting?
She'd probably be getting at least twice what I'm getting.
Yeah. That's pretty handy.
Oh yeah. But I use what I'm getting to take care of the farm here. I'm not working anymore.
What are you farming? Or so you hire a guy to do it for you, or what's growing down there?
It's hay, and actually he was just here today plowing because he's getting ready to plant some corn. That's him up there on the hill over there. Okay. He has a big dairy farm over the hill, and he leases the land off of us.
So technically you're a farmer, but you lease the land to him to do that, and you lease the subsurface rights to Range.
I'm not getting anything for the lease to him. It's more or less just somebody to take care of the property.
Yeah, fair enough.
I used to grow produce here, but I give it up a couple years ago because it got dry, drought and everything, and it was a losing proposition, and it couldn't have been a better time for Range to come in here.
Well, that sounds like a success story. I watched that movie by Josh Fox called Gasland, where he really demonizes the oil and gas industry, and he makes it seem like all the people are up in arms against it. Have you seen that movie? And if you have, what would your response to Josh Fox be?
Well, I didn't actually see the movie, but I saw several of the video clips from it. I watched Frack Nation.
Yeah.
They were already here and done it before Gasland come out, and basically it's, from what I'm seeing, it's just a bunch of nonsense.
Do most of your neighbors share your views?
Yeah, we're all fine with it up here.
It's a good income.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's getting something because they all own their mineral rights, whether they only own an acre or if they own 100 acres, they're all getting something.
I tell you, that man makes me think of one word: America. What a good egg. So the landowners seem pretty happy, but what about their drinking water? Well, I asked Donald for a refreshing glass of tap water, and he didn't hesitate to offer me one. Well, cheers to your health.
Sure.
Thank you very much. I did the same thing at Dave's office.
Cheers to Marcellus.
It was clear nobody was concerned about contaminated drinking water in these parts. Maybe Josh Fox should actually meet some of these severely normal people living in Pennsylvania who know the truth about fracking. So everything's great for these landowners, but what about if the actual drilling and fracking happened on your property? Well, those people get honored in their own way. It's called the Jacob Campbell Unit, and we were drilling on the Inches property. These are named after the families that own this land. Jacob Campbell owns the land. He owns the minerals underneath it. Jacob Campbell is a rich man.
It's been a blessing.
How one man is living out his dream in the most unlikely places. We head back to the fracking site to talk to the Barbecue King. Frack sites operate around the clock with 2 12-hour shifts, hard at work 24/7. So what happens when these men get hungry? They're certainly working up an appetite. Frank Puskarich from Hogfathers has the remedy. He is arguably the most important role in the whole operation, feeding the men, and he does it well. Hey Frank, tell me a bit about yourself. What's going on here?
I do a lot of the frack catering work for Range Resources and a lot of other companies in the area. We've made a great business out of it, running anywhere from 2 to 3 of these trailers out each day. We go out twice a day. We go out 11 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon, and we go back out 11 o'clock at night till 1 in the morning. And we offer them drinks, coffee. Today we happen to have barbecued ribs.
They call you the Barbecue King of Pennsylvania. Is that true?
Yeah, kind of. I think it's more of a name given to me versus a name I hung on myself. But
are you from Pennsylvania originally?
Yes.
So how do you get involved with this? I mean, it's a pretty serious operation. Let's take a look at, while we're talking, let's take a look at some of the ribs and stuff you got there. What you got today? You got some?
We have ribs. There's ribs today. There's baked beans today. Potato salad.
Those are some pretty serious ribs.
Oh.
It's like brontosaurus ribs almost. Holy cow!
You have half a rack right there.
I met a few folks here today from Texas. They know ribs down there. What kind of verdict do your Texas customers give for your Pennsylvania ribs?
I get probably a 9 out of a 10.
Well, that's pretty good. I mean, those Texans, they would never say Pennsylvania ribs are better. Even if they were, they would never say it.
Well, I'd have to say probably best east of the Mississippi, and that's what I've been told. So when you go west, I'm tough competition.
Now, what were you doing before all the fracking jobs came to town? Were you in the catering business before that?
Not really. I was in a pizza business, and I've always wanted to do barbecue, and it kind of I was blessed. I opened a barbecue joint, and somebody from Range Resources said, "You want to do some catering work for us?" And never looked back. And again, I have to say, it's been a blessing. I went from one store with about 10 guys to like 5 stores now with over 85 people, and we just run 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, some of these frac sites, they work around the clock.
Around the clock, right. You have to be able to, you have to be available on weekends, you have to be available all holidays. Holidays are really big. Christmas Day is just unbelievable for us. And, you know, you kind of have to appreciate the job they do, and it makes it, it's a good feeling to show up on like a holiday with food for them. And
do you do a special like Christmas dinner or something?
Oh yeah, we'll do anything from you know, the typical Christmas dinners, whether it's steaks, ham, turkey. And the thing too is these guys give back so much. Like they'll pay me to give food to like the food bank in Washington.
Are you serious?
We did that with Range for many, many years when we first got started. Like the first 3 or 4 years I was there, Range bought the food bank. And then they found it was easier for them to do, I guess, a bigger donation and move on. But there's a lot of give back from this fracking industry, a lot.
Let me ask you, do any of the fellas come back for seconds, or is that just me?
No, they come back for seconds. The food's delicious, so I don't blame them.
Anybody come back for thirds?
They say it's for other people, but who knows? They might.
That's my line. I like using the word we. I said, this is for us, but it's just for me.
It's for a buddy of mine. That's what they tell me.
What if I get a little bit more of them potato salad?
Absolutely.
Okay, good stuff. Thanks very much. Still ahead, from businesses to employees, it's clear that fracking is keeping these western Pennsylvania communities thriving. But there's more perks to having the shale industry come to town. That's next. You know, I grew up in the country just west of Calgary, and I'll tell you one thing, we never had gorgeous paved asphalt roads like this, at least not where there were so few houses and cars around. This is one of the many small but noticeable benefits that fracking has brought to western Pennsylvania. Over $1 billion worth of roads and other infrastructure paid for by the natural gas companies, obviously for the benefit of their own vehicles, but also to the benefit of everyone else. Look, I have met so many people here in Pennsylvania who say the same thing. Fracking has brought prosperity and easier living. It's brought young people back to the state as jobs have grown here by the hundreds of thousands. I wish I could have told this story from Canadian provinces like Quebec or Nova Scotia or New Brunswick, all of which have fossil fuel-bearing shale rock a mile under their ground too. But for reasons mainly political and environmentalist, we have not fracked eastern Canada. Now the have provinces, BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, have fracked hundreds of thousands of times. That's one of the reasons they're so rich. I hope that in the future I can do a story like I've done from Pennsylvania, from Quebec, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. Until then, I'm Ezra Levan in Pennsylvania, saying bye-bye.